Hello survivors and welcome to another Walking Dead Road to Survival video, and in this video we're going to be taking a first look at a character that I've been waiting to come into the game for quite a little bit of time. It is going to be the next Gold Rush reward character. It is going to be Gold Mythic Locke. Now if we look at the visuals on the right hand side, you can see this character wearing the sunglasses, got a pretty nice looking weapon which we'll look at the end of the actual video. But you can see some kind of like little add-ons on this visuals. You can see like a chicken on the shirt, a little radio, maybe a reminiscent radio on the actual jacket itself, and a gold brick on the side of the backpack. Some very interesting add-ons on the visuals here. If we look on the left-hand side, we can see some of it in a bit more details. Specifically that t-shirt. That chicken is looking rather hyped right now. We can also see the radio and the weapon. The visuals look really cool. The background kind of the world falling apart, as this is a day one character, would have been very early on in the old zombie apocalypse. If we look at the stats, at level 1440, limit break 3 has 15,799 attack, 35,988 defense, and 35,988 HP. It's going to be a tough character, control role, gold mythic of course, and like I said, it's going to be joining the day one allegiance. Now, if we take a look at the Adrenaline Rush, it is called Playing Either Side. It is a recharge rate of 55 AP. 2 enemies get confused for 2 turns. Heal this fighter for 100% of their max HP. Deal 25% of the living enemy's team's max HP as damage to an enemy. While on the defense team, it uses the attack stat instead. So we'll break it down. The first part, 2 enemies getting confused for 2 turns. This is going to be the character that you select plus 1 random enemy. Healing this character for 100% of their max HP is nice. It's going to have a nice bit of sustain here. In combination with the special skill, this character will need to get healed up from time to time. Now lastly, dealing 25% of the living enemy team's max HP as damage to an enemy. On an attack team, that's going to be very nice. Obviously, defense teams have high max HP. If he's used on a defense team, it will use the attack stat instead, and attack teams generally have high attack. This will generally do quite a lot of damage to a character. You will not have to have attack versus on the trait mods. It will just be flat damage, kind of like what we've seen with the recent Zachary, kind of what we've seen with the recent Jiang, where it will just be the heavy hit flat damage based on those stats. Okay, so we have got the Adrenaline Rush up here of Locke. And remember, the way it works is based on the enemy team's HP. So the more characters that have higher HP, the more damage that this is going to do. It's pretty much simple as that. It is max HP, so the bonus HP is not going to count towards this amount. We have got some quite high HP characters on this defense team. Morgan and Noor have pretty decent HPs. I'm going to target this character at the top, and we're going to hit the damage. And as you can see, they did get confused, but they did get taken out as well. And one other character gets confused for 2 turns, as you can see. Now, this character would have got healed up by 100% of their max HP if they had taken any damage, but as it stands, they were already max HP pretty much. And do remember, if this character is used on a defense team and his stats makes him very viable, especially with that specialist skill to be used on a defense team, it would just use the attack team's attack stat instead. The overall attack stat, 25% of that. And generally speaking, you can get attack teams up to 500k plus on the attack stat, and it includes buffs too. So if there are any attack buffs, it's going to be massively amplified. Not that it will need it, because attack characters just don't have much HP. If we look at the actual upgrades here, you can see at grade 3 it gets an upgrade where it heals this fighter for 100% of their max HP. That just requires 1 copy, so not too much of a problem. At grade 5, it gets plus 10% damage, so it goes from 15% of the overall living enemy team's max stat to 25% of the overall living enemy team's max stat. Obviously, it depends on it if he's on an attack team or a defense team, what that stat's going to be. Then at limit break 2, it gets plus 1 confused target. So initially, it's only going to confuse the target that you select, but you also do that damage to that target. So if you take them out, that confuse will not actually be around. So getting this plus 1 confused target is quite important to guarantee some sort of control going on the enemy team. Now, I think this Adrenaline Rush is quite nice. Like I say, it works on defense and attack, and based on this character's stats and the specialist skill, they're going to be very good on defense and quite a nice support character on attack too. You could potentially command rush this character off of turn 1 just to get rid of one extremely annoying character on a defense team. If you don't have Zachary or Zhang to already do that, the team up with Laura could potentially be pretty good with Locke here. So yeah, quite a nice rush. Should be fine for attack or defense teams. Now moving on to the signature move, it is called Potent Poison. It has got an initial cooldown of turn 1, cooldown of 1 turn, number of uses unlimited, attack an enemy for 300% damage. If that enemy had more current HP than this fighter, they get 20% infection for 2 turns, plus 20% for each 10,000 max HP they have. This fighter gets camouflage for the rest of combat. So breaking it down, the damage is just going to be an attack. It can crit, it can proc weapons. You have to be aware of this. The second part is mainly good for when this character is used on an attack team, because generally speaking, the defense team characters will have more HP than him, and he'll do quite a handy amount of infection. If the character has 100,000 max HP, he should potentially do a 220% infection, which is actually not too bad at all, and it only lasts for 2 turns, so it's very, very short. Now, this last part I see as mainly being good for when he's on the defense team. It's good to have camouflage on defense. It means you have to be targeted directly to actually take damage. That could be very interesting. I'm not really sure how that would work with his specialist skill, because that is a non-targeted damage that he would take. Would he reduce that down to 0? I guess we'll check that out in this next clip. So now attacking, we're going to do the signature move off of turn 1. We are going to use the signature move against Clementine because she has the highest HP on the enemy team. She has 98,000. So by my calculation, she should get a 200% infection here. We'll use the signature move, and we have managed to hit a 200% infection. This is interesting. This is interesting. As you can see, Locke has got camouflage for the rest of combat, but he did actually proc her weapon. So you have to be careful about using this against characters with weapons that can be procced. Also, maybe a team up with a disarm could be really good. But this sort of infection is very nice. It can be used every other turn, and it's going to be quite hard to heal infection that high. Do remember, it's based off of the character's max HP, not their current HP. So even if they have lost a little bit of HP, they will still get a high amount of infection. Okay, so here you can see I am on the attack team now, and we have Locke on the defense team in the top left-hand corner. I want to see if that camouflage will block incoming damage from his specialist skill. I don't think it will, because that would just be ridiculous, but we'll do the signature move here of Zachary, and you can see that it was absorbed with the specialist skill of Locke. He has gained AP, but he didn't block the damage incoming with camouflage. It would stop AoE damage though, so if I hit Clementine with an AoE hit that would also hit Locke, he would not take any damage. That's just how camouflage works. Now jumping straight into the upgrades, you can see at grade 2 it gets -1 to cooldown, so it goes from a 2-turn cooldown down to a 1-turn cooldown. At grade 4 it gets an upgrade where it gets plus 10% infection for each 10,000 max HP the enemy has. This is really, really good, especially when he's on an attack team. It will still do significant infection when he's on a defense team. You're looking at like 60 to 80% potentially, but it's going to be mainly good against defense teams who have massive amounts of max HP. At limit break 1, we get -1 to starting cooldown, so it goes from a 2-turn starting cooldown down to a 1st-turn starting cooldown. It's nice to see that on a slightly easier, accessible limit break. But then at limit break 3, it gets plus 10% infection for each 10,000 max HP. So again, it goes from plus 10% up to plus 20%. Again, that's quite nice. It's obviously much nicer against defense teams. You would want to get limit break 3 if you wanted to utilize this infection to the highest standard for sure. So this literally works quite nicely. I wasn't sure whether it would work well on attack and defense, but it seems to be absolutely fine. This character looks like quite a versatile character with being able to be used on both teams, which is nice for a more accessible character. Being in the gold mythic world, having a character you can use on attack and or defense is always nice as the option. But I primarily see this signature move as being good on attack. That massive amount of infection that he can deal out should be actually really nice. Now jumping over to Locke's mythic abilities, these are the passive skills. You can see because this character is a control role, they will have precision. Enemy resistances are 40% lower against this character. This is going to be a flat rate decrease, so characters with infection resistance will not be able to resist 100% of the time. It will be an actual direct counter to that potential. Same with the Confuse on the Adrenaline Rush and any other sort of controls or status effects that he can apply to an enemy. The next one is Crew Helper. At the start of each wave, all teammates get 100% damage over time reduction for 3 turns. This means burn and bleed are not going to be as problematic for the first 3 turns when you're attacking or defending with Locke in your team. It is not trait specific, so it's just going to be everyone on the team, and we haven't seen a character with this for a little while, especially for attack, especially as an accessible character, so that's going to be quite nice. There is a bit more burn and bleed around now, especially with the emergence of Negan on defense teams. This does seem to be potentially helping against that sort of character. So does the Adrenaline Rush with the amount of damage it can do. Now, if we look at the next one, it's called No Slow Deaths. When this fighter performs their signature move, 100% chance a random teammate recovers from all penalties. This is really nice because let's say a character's stunned, you can get them out of that stun and they can take their turn still. That's really, really nice indeed. The signature move can be used every other turn, so there should be quite a lot of cleanses going on. And it's all penalties too, so even if someone isn't got a debilitating status effect, but they've got something like attack down or something like this, it's always worthwhile doing this signature move first and then trying to cleanse a teammate of just something that is annoying when it comes to a debuff. You just maybe want to take advantage of things like Taunt if you are using attack while taunted and the character also has focus. You'd want to use that character's attack first. Now the last passive is called Prepare for Living. When this fighter performs their specialist skill, 50% chance with equal odds that either this fighter or 2 other teammates get 40% Halo for 2 turns. Now, if you did see the preview of the specialist skill that I did last week, you will know that it can proc twice per turn, and that potentially means he could be giving out between 2 and 4 Halos every single turn. On an attack team, this is immense because if you get absolutely dogpiled, he's going to be proccing his specialist skill, but then also giving out Halo to teammates. And as I showed in that video, when it comes to specialist skills like Bodyguard, they can proc certain mythic abilities, and this is very nice indeed in my opinion. Okay, so we are going to attack here, and as you can see, we have got no Halo on anyone on the defense team. If I use this signature move of They Who Wander against the top line, we'll have the specialist skill of Locke proc at least once, maybe twice. Once, twice, and now you can see there's Halo on Locke himself, and then 2 other teammates have it too. Luke and Omid just gained Halo from the second proc. This can happen twice per turn because the special skill can proc twice per turn. If we go to the next turn, what I want to see is, so let me just do the next turn. Will it obviously give out more Halo to the characters that haven't got it? Will it refresh it on the characters that have? It will just be a little bit interesting to see this sort of info. Let's see if I can actually take my turn, because there are a lot of taunts on this defense team here. There's one taunt at least. Okay, so we'll try and do a little bit more damage. Let me do its signature move here. 1. Did I see Halo proc again? Let me see. It's a 2-turn Halo again on Locke. And I could maybe do the Either and Go signature move. It will take out some characters, but he'll block some of the damage. But some of the damage he's blocking are onto characters that have Halo. So some nice little combos here, in my opinion, when it comes to what this specialist skill can do. So the interaction between the specialist skill and that passive look pretty good. We'll check out more details on the specialist skill coming up. If we look at the upgrades on the passives, you can see at grade 1, gets the first half of Crew Helper, where all teammates get 50% damage over time reduction for 3 turns. That'll be at the start of each wave. Then at grade 2, he gets the first half of Precision, where it'll be 20% lower resistances against this fighter. At grade 3, he gets the second half of Crew Helper, making it 100% damage over time reduction for the first 3 turns of a wave. Moving on to grade 4, you can see the first half of No Slow Deaths coming. When this fighter performs their signature move, 50% chance a random teammate recovers from all penalties. We didn't see it in the clips before, but that is going to be very nice indeed. Obviously, if someone's got like crosshairs, which a lot of defense teams do, he's going to be able to cleanse someone of the crosshairs off of turn 1, which is obviously quite nice indeed. At grade 5, it's going to be Prepare for Living. When this fighter performs their specialist skill, 20% chance with equal odds that either this fighter or 2 other teammates get 40% halo for 2 turns. That's obviously the first half of it. When we get onto limit breaks, we will get some additions. Limit break 1 comes in, precision 2, making it 40% total resistance reduction against this fighter. Limit break 2, no slow deaths part 2, making a 100% chance on random teammate recurrence from all penalties when this fighter performs their signature move. And at limit break 3, it will be 50% chance with equal odds that either this fighter or 2 other teammates get 40% halo for 2 turns. Now this isn't necessarily going to proc every time that he uses his specialist skill. It only has a 50% chance overall. It isn't 50-50. It is effectively 25%, 25%. By the way I'm reading the wording, it's a 50% chance to proc, but it has equal odds to either be 2 other teammates getting 40% halo or this character getting 40% halo. I still think it's good. Obviously, it has a good chance to proc at least once per turn because it's 50-50 and it can proc twice every single turn. So it should be handing out halo reasonably regularly. So I like the passives. Again, they work pretty well on attack or defense. I don't think anything is pushing him in one way or the other on the passives. The damage over time reduction is very nice to see. I know a lot of people have been complaining about there's not much you can do against Burn and Bleed with more recent characters, and this should fill that void, which is going to be very nice indeed. The cleanse is nice, and like I say, halo is always nice, attack or defense. You want your characters to stay alive as much as possible. Now, I did go over this in the preview of the specialist skill, but we will just go over it again. Bodyguard 2, while not stunned the first 2 times each turn, then allied teammate takes 30% of their max HP from a single attack, rush, active, or signature skill. This fighter will take that damage instead. Damage transferred this way is reduced by 75%. You could see how much he was reducing that damage. You could kind of see if a character was taking 160,000 damage, he'd reduce that down to 40k damage. And there are a lot of characters out there that can do very heavy hits. Zhang, Zachary, even Locke himself could counter Locke himself because that big hit they can do on his adrenaline rush can be absorbed by a defense team bodyguard too. And he is the bodyguard too, so that is actually kind of funny. But yeah, basically the massive reduction, if he has bonus HP, it's going to be very nice indeed. You want to build him HP because that is how bodyguard 2 obviously reduces incoming damage the best. Defense rating counts nothing towards how their bodyguard 2 works. Make sure the HP is nice and high, but don't ignore the defense because he can be targeted and taken out that way instead. If you want to see my thoughts on this specialist skill in a bit more detail, there should be a link in the top right hand corner going over the previews of the 2 new specialist skills that have come to the game and just my thoughts and ideas on those specialist skills. Now lastly, Locke does have an attached weapon and it is Locke's Vengeful Rifle, and the visuals I like very much indeed, very reminiscent of a Aliens pulse rifle if anyone knows Aliens. It has got 40% HP, a huge bonus to AP when being attacked, and this can actually proc the AP bonus each time his specialist skill procs, so this could be very nice indeed. In slot 3, he has taunt each turn. At the start of each turn, a random enemy gets taunt for 1 turn. This is nice on attack teams and defense teams. Being able to just control an enemy is very nice indeed. On an attack team, it will happen the second the fight starts. On a defense team, this taunt will happen when it goes to the defense team's turn. And in the 4th slot, it has improved tough health. Up to 2 teammates get 10% bonus HP per turn for each tough teammate on the team. I primarily see this as more of an attack team weapon. You might want to go for a stat-based weapon instead for a defense team and just gear him out a bit more solidly for the stats. But on attack, this is going to be very nice. You want to primarily boost that HP as high as possible just to basically get the most out of the specialist skill proccing and the reduction that it can do. The taunt each turn, like I said, is a nice little bonus. If there's only 1 enemy alive, it will taunt that enemy every single turn. So if it is a problematic character that can take a bit of time to take down, they're going to be less effective because they won't be able to use signature moves, they won't be able to use rushes. You'll have them under constant lockdown, dare I say, giving your team just the freedom to just take them out at ease. So the weapon is quite nice, but I would maybe switch up for a heavy stat-based weapon on a defense team. So that is Gold Mythic Locke, and you can see the visuals on this character in a little bit more detail. On the right hand side, on the left hand side, he is going to be a Gold Rush character coming to RTS. More details on the Gold Rush event when that information drops. I might do a gameplay showcase of this character if that's something you'd like to see, kind of like a starter guide. Let me know in the comments below this video if that's something you'd actually want to see. I want to thank you very much for tuning into this video, guys. And I'll be honest, I don't think this character would exist without you guys hitting that subscribe button. I do massively appreciate it. I want to thank you very much for tuning in. And as always, keep on surviving, guys. Keep on surviving.